What's going on, everybody? Back here with my homeboy Ron. FOMC meeting today. How you doing?
Good, man. How about you?
Good. Can't complain. It's been a minute since I've done a stream.
Yeah, it's really nice out here. I almost said like, "Hey, man, I can't do it."
It's turning spring over there.
Yeah, it's like probably 77 degrees outside right now.
You should do outdoor streams.
Yeah, maybe. Desktop. Maybe I can drive my laptop out there sometime. Yeah.
Yeah. But always a lot to talk about. Market's been absolutely brutal, but last few days it's been a little better. Stock market's been a little greener. Today, FOMC, Jay Powell, no rate cuts, that was expected, but then it's what he said afterwards that everyone pays attention to. So I took some notes on that and we can talk about that and everything that's going on in the market. Let's see who we got in here before we get started. Josh in the house. What's good, brother? Big Medicator. Raven, Mother Chucker, let's go. Blanket, let's go. What are your thoughts on Kaspa? I'm gonna star this, and we're gonna come back to this.
Yeah, we can talk about that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we'll come back to that one. Andrew, what's good, brother? Josh, Andrew again. Frank in the house. What's going on, Frank the Tank? So what do you think of the Jay Powell?
I guess the takeaway most people took that QT is going to end. He said he's not in a hurry to cut rates when he was asked point blank about it. But he's got to be so careful what he says. He's not going to say, "Yeah, we're going to cut next meeting."
Yeah.
So he's very careful about what he says. And everything like that. I don't think anything groundbreaking really happened that we didn't expect, in my opinion. But you're a little better at this side of things. So what do you think?
I think the market seemed to like it. I think they liked it because of the slowing of QT. I think was a signal that they've been waiting for, right? To kind of like get a little less restrictive. So that was a good thing. He was, yeah. You know what else was a good thing? I think. There's been a lot of fear in the market, a lot of recession fear, a lot of economic slowdown fear, tariffs going to cause more inflation fear. And he said, I think 2 or 3 times, you need to separate the noise from the signal, right? There's a lot of noise out there, a lot of people speculating on what might happen, rather than going off of, fundamental data and concrete data and all that. And so I thought that was important, right? And I think that's also true. If you look over in the European markets, they're ripping. I think Germany is still, I just said New
Orleans. The rest of the world stock markets are, yeah.
Yeah, throughout the
world.
Say it again?
A lot of money in China right now.
Yeah. And so our stock market is not moving, and this is the United States stock market leads the financial world, right? And there's been a lot of fear over here. Meanwhile, overseas, their markets are ripping. I think that, of course, has to do with all the noise, right? So I thought that was important that he said that. And he said even if there, is inflation that come with tariffs, it's transitory and, it's unlikely to remain, right? Their projection over long term is still is solid. So I thought he came across as, what dovish is positive.
Yeah.
So
yeah. That was good. His tone was positive. I agree.
Yeah. So I think good things, and the market agrees. And I was looking because it was interesting because, we started edging up this morning. Bitcoin was creeping up, the NASDAQ, S&P, and ETH. Yeah, ETH broke 2,000. Look at ETH.
Hurt his back.
Look at ETH, baby. ETH's a monster again. Up over 7% today. So we saw it like creeping up, and I was wondering if it was going to be a sell the news thing, but it wasn't, right? The market's still holding up relative. As of now, it's still holding up 85.6 on Bitcoin. ETH still over 2K. Stock market held up strong and even went up as he was speaking. So I thought it was overall a good thing, and maybe it helps to ease some fears, and maybe markets have found a bottom. What do you think?
I think the market reaction had more to do with just the uncertainty getting behind us, getting past the event. Because people don't know. Like, I've seen the wildest swings during FOMC while he's talking before. Just liquidating both sides, and people try to trade it accordingly. Sometimes they normally end up doesn't work out. It's tough to do. So I think the markets, because he didn't really say anything. I mean, his tone was, dovish, as they say in these FOMC terms. But he didn't really say anything groundbreaking. I think it was just more the uncertainty of that is behind us. And supposedly April 2nd is supposed to be a big tariff date. And from what I understand, a lot of people are waiting for how that affects markets.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, Scott Bessent, the treasurer, who's, behind a lot of these policies alongside Trump, really drives these things, has said, a lot can happen between now and April 2nd. A lot of countries could drop their tariffs, and then, and so we'll see how it plays out. I think that's an important date. Absolutely. April 2nd. And I think we'll start to move past this uncertainty, because I think that's really what's been driving this downturn. It's nothing fundamental. It's not like, there's nothing fundamental that says we're in a recession or going towards one. There's data about, I don't know if you saw the Atlanta Fed. They released data, right, about how negative GDP, but that's fake. Like, that's like, that's from people front running tariffs, companies front running tariffs. And Powell was even dismissive of that also. So
Lark Davis posted a chart on Twitter today about recession. I don't know where the data came from. It was like recession, whatever, was like spiked way down recently, like the risk of
the risk of a recession.
Yeah. And like you had said a minute ago, like people looking into things too much. We talked about this on streams a couple times, how everyone's a macro and M2 money supply expert now. Like, it's not that M2 money supply doesn't matter. It does, for sure. But the fact, like, M2 money supply leading the way, that's not a new concept. Marty Party's talked about it a long time, as long as I followed him on Twitter. And I've known about it a little. It's one of those things you kind of forget. But, there's that one guy on YouTube that I think had a lot of people had shared his stuff. And at first he's like, yeah, it's a 45-day lead time. No, it's a 70-day lead time. No, it's a 105-day lead time. Like, if you offset something enough and make it fit to, like, anything can fit, I suppose, if you do that. M2 is going up. Normally it correlates to risk assets going up and Bitcoin. But, when we had that run, like, into 2023, beginning of 2024, M2 was going down sharply that whole time frame, so all these things, people try to hang their hat on, they matter, but it's not like the be all end all. And be careful about hanging on to a hopium thing like that. I'm not saying that's hopium into supply and we're going down. I'm not saying that, but don't let some of these macro things get in your head to where, like, well, no, M2, like, that has to play out. It has to work. This person on YouTube, they said it's an 80-day lead time. Well, no, it's 100-day. Well, no, it's 120. Well, actually, it's 180 days, and they keep, like, changing it or whatever,
Yeah, I mean, if it was that easy, then
everybody just go off that.
Yeah, it would just be like clockwork,
Yeah.
But I see some questions in here. I'm going to star these. I want to talk about Devve. We talk about Devve.
Got any chart you guys want me to?
Yeah, we'll talk about Devve a little later. We'll talk about Tectum. I see down here this question. First, I want to talk about, like, overall market stuff, and then we'll move into some of these questions on specific altcoins. What are your thoughts on overall market, bull, bear? What do you think, man? I've been seeing some people flip bearish on the overall, trend of the market. Some people think that we've now entered a bear market and that people just don't realize it yet.
So what I would say, like, my general overall response to that would be, if this is like bear market, then we never really had a bull market, and the 4-year cycle is invalidated. And that means it should be invalidated on the bear side as well. And crypto is probably just part of the greater macro, whatever trend with the stock market, the NASDAQ or something like that. And it's not that we need to because here's what I've heard people say. I guess we'll have to hold some of our bags for 4 more years. If the 4-year cycle didn't play out then get it out of your head. Then you're not going to hold for 4 more years. And alts, like maybe the days of 100x gains on established projects is gone, but I don't think they'll go to zero. Like they'll trend with the market or whatever. So I don't think if we're not going up anymore now, I wouldn't say that like it's bear market necessarily. I would say it's entered a new era in Bitcoin, and we're not going to get necessarily an 80% drop from here. Because if the bull side of that 4-year theory didn't play out, then I wouldn't expect the bear side. Like the 4-year cycle was just invalidated as we know it, and I'm not ready to say that yet at all. Here I can look at the Bitcoin chart.
Yeah, throw it up. Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's inevitable that 4-year cycle, right? At some point, the space is going to mature and evolve and deviate from that cycle. It's a really young asset class. And so it would make sense that now that we're tied with, the stock market with the ETFs and trading going on there by institutions, and that's driving a lot of the inflows and outflows, that we would correlate more with traditional markets. And we've seen it take place during this cycle. And I agree that if it's the case, it is what it is. And the positive byproduct of that is, you don't have that long drawn out bear that we've had. And it's not I don't think it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. It's just like the new way that things would play out. But, we'll see if that's the case.
Pretty much that's the way I see it. Also, but, I talked about this. I did that. Remember I shared that spreadsheet where I looked at like lots of macro indicators, and I still think it's lining up to where all the positive macro indicators, DXY, M2, ISM, a lot of these things are lining up to be all in our favor. And we've actually never had that in a cycle before. Rate cut is coming later, maybe 2. So there's a lot of these things that are lining up. So if you want to be all in on this macro guy, well, the macro stuff, the writing's on the wall that all that's, if not already confirmed, like that stuff's coming, this year. The administration just continues to be pro crypto. Have you heard about these bit bonds?
No, I don't. I've heard something. I've heard people talk about that they should issue bonds, Bitcoin bonds, but I didn't hear anything, coming out of administration or anything.
No, they got a proposal for that. And then the Loomis proposal, that seems like it's very favorable. It's not, these things are always partisan just because that's the nature of politicians.
Yeah.
But to the proposal of how they want to roll it out with not using taxpayer money, that's the best that they can try to get support on the other side of the aisle, especially when they already have the House and the Senate. Then it should pass. You never know, whatever, but the way it's worded, given they already have the House, they don't even need bipartisan support necessarily. They can just have all their own people, but it'd be good to have a few people on the other side of the aisle to be like, this isn't a bad idea, so they don't argue about it for weeks. So many things are lining up fundamentally, but I try to keep it on chart, and that's why I was saying earlier, if something's saying, don't think that M2 money supply is going up, so therefore we have to go up. Oh, DXY is going down, therefore we have to go up. I've shown in previous streams plenty of times when the opposite happened, or when we had that pump M2 into 2023, like I said earlier in this stream, M2 was going down sharply during that whole time. It was one of the only time in M2's history that it was going down like that. So these things have a mind of their own. Also, I'll look at in a minute, the USDT dominance, not dominance, market cap, and USDC market cap charts, because don't forget, we have our own money printer in crypto, and that can be something that sparks us a lot of times too. When you see those whale guru alerts that, Tether printed another $1 billion or billion USDT, that's our own money printer in this space,
When people wonder where's the money going to come from, there's tons of money that's sidelined in stables.
A ton. Yeah. There's a lot of money sidelined in stables. So the two macro, there's two things. This trend line and the 50-week is the red. So that's like the average price over the last year. So a wick off of that, right in that area. I put this out in Telegram going into last week, I think. Not this week that we're in, but the week before that. Yeah. I said we got this trend line. So this was after this candle, this big candle. Because I was like, it's not bad. It's not a good candle. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But if we would have got this here, if this candle hadn't wigged up like that, that would have been much more concerning. The way that I look at things, I've read lots of books, taken lots of courses, been schooled by smart people. I try to look at things like Al Brooks does, who's like a GOAT, trader. I try to look at things like him. And this was not a good candle. I'm like, we're out of the range. Now, where are we going to find support? There was 4 things right here in this area, 4 points of confluence that I was like, maybe this will save us here, and we're not going to go all the way down in the low 70s. Plus, when you have a lot of people waiting for a certain price, many times it doesn't come. So you have the 50-week, the trend line. You also have the CME gap that was right in here that had established support, and this previous low. So that's going to provide some support. The 50 weeks going to provide some support. The trend line is going to provide some support where that CME gap was. I considered it being filled. Some people say it wasn't. They said the whole gap has to get filled, and it was on halfway down. I don't know. I'm not a CME gap expert, but that was another thing. And then also, which I pointed out, is 45 on the RSI on the weekly. And look, it's bouncing again. So this is another level. And make no mistake about it, there are people that trade off the RSI and they go solely off RSI. So that's several points of confluence for support there. And I've talked about gaps and lots of streams before. When you have the breakout point from before and it leaves a gap, that is considered bullish because a lot of people are targeting this, and it means that buyers step in and it never gets there and it leaves people sidelined, and then eventually they buy back on top of it. So whenever you get that kind of structure, then that's, like here, this wick here and this breakout point there, look, it touched exactly, but it's good when it wicks up strong like that. But anyway, just leaving the gap is good. So I'm not ruling out that we'll go lower, but it's holding right now. Even if we do go lower, and once again, this is the way that I assess things, and I've been pretty good at this over the last many years. Just getting this bull bar was big here, because that if we do come down here to the low 70s, you want the leg to look rangy. You want all the things that I talk about when I talk about this. You want bars switching colors. You want bars overlapping. You want bars to have the wicks on them. You want, on lower time frames, these gaps to continue to get filled. So this concept I just talked about, when it leaves the gap, when you look on other time frames, you want to constantly see those gaps getting filled. And that means that traders are just trading it. They're targeting these breakout points. It hits that, whether it's short or long, it shows that the market isn't trending, that both sides, bulls and bears, are trading it. They're both involved, because there becomes a point, and this is when the breakout happens from a range or certain, when the other side just steps out of the way and they're like, okay, we're getting our ass kicked. We're just going to step away and here, have at it bulls or have at it bears. And I'm looking for a better place to short or a better place to long or this support level. And then you get, either breakout, downtrend, uptrend, whatever the case is. So the fact that we're getting these candles like this is good, even if we don't, even if we do go down, because it lessens the probability significantly that when we come down here, that we will break through it. So just say this candle would have closed towards its low. That'll look super bad. And then say the following week, you had just a very little wick on top and you got a candle just like that was fairly full body, not really much wicks, and closing right there. That'd have been really bad. Say it's right there at the top of the range, and then say maybe the next week you get a little red doji that's kind of going into the range, but the doji, the wick goes here and rejects off the 50 week and maybe comes down here. It's something here, say the body like that, and then little wicks on top. That was what you would see if we were going to probably break through this level of the low 70s and settle back in this range. And that would not be good. But the fact we're not seeing that, that's good. Like I said, even if we do go down more, it significantly lessens the probability that we'll break through that range and spend significant time there.
When does for you, like as a trade, as someone who studies charts and bars and things like this, when does your thesis change that when would you be worried? I think Jordan Cameron said if we close below the 50-day on the weekly.
The 50-week, move this red one. So if you go back and look at so this is the Binance chart, so it doesn't go back but so far. Because see, okay, even last bear market, you got that. You did get a close. So it's not unprecedented, to get a close before. But then immediately you got the bounce. And so at some point you're like, well, yeah, but you can't go back and see the future. Well, this is always a game of risk reward versus probability. So if you sold here last bull market, you're like, we closed under the 50-week, you kind of want to, if you waited one more week and see that price is being accepted here, it may go down more and you may get a worse exit point. However, this could happen too. This is a great reversal pattern. Look, the wiki double bottom, an inverse head and shoulders, a bullish outside bar engulfing. Once this happened, that's the kind of move I'd say, all right, we're going up. After this candle, we're going up. Reclaiming the 50-day, a fake out below it, and I would get worried if you get a close under the 50-day on a bearish candle, and price is like accepted there. So say we get, like this week's here, whatever, and then we get like the next week and we close below that trend line. I'm trying to do something like more realistic, and then we get another red candle, and that one firmly closes below the 50-week, and we're like right here at this level. Because we got this level here, so don't forget that. This could provide us support even when we break this trend line in the 50-day week, and that could end up being a fake out. So it's that same kind of situation that I would, not financially advise over here. If you get that, it's probably best to wait, hang on just a little bit, and you can go into the daily and get a better look and see what's going on, and because that would be the smaller time frame from the weekly. So if you got that, it closed below it, and then say maybe you just got like some range in action or like a week.
What price is that? Is it like 74 or something?
Yeah, right here at the top of that range, like 74, 73. Yeah. And then say it comes back up and rejects off the 50-week and closes for the week. That's probably not a good sign at all. Yeah. If it closes below the 50-week, you get price being accepted. It doesn't have a strong bounce below or hitting this support level, and you go back up, hit the 50-week, and it rejects off of it and closes for the week on a bearish candle. That would be a good sign that we're probably not going to go up for the time being. But once again, I also don't think it means for crypto is dead for the next 4 years, because then I think the 4-year cycle was invalidated and we're in a new uncharted waters now.
Yeah, which makes it more complicated maybe, right? Because on the one hand, if you knew that, all right, it's done and it's time to sell all your alts. It's time to go to stables, wait for Bitcoin to drop its 70%, wait for reversal, and there's kind of a playbook there, right? But this time around, if that's the case and we decouple from the 4-year cycle, then there is no real playbook.
Yeah, and what you're going to get is traders and people know what they're doing. They're going to short the market, and people are going to sell their bags into that, and then they'll close their shorts and cause a pump, and then people are going to be like, oh, shit, I got faked out, and buy their bags back, and that cycle can continue for a little while, and maybe the market like altcoins stabilize a little bit and that they don't die. I was on a stream with Wendy O yesterday, and I talked about this a little bit with alts and like that, and we've talked about it before, Danny. Like a lot of people look at altcoins as kind of glorified meme coins now, and they all kind of think, well, they don't really have much utility in the space; they're all just for money. But there is use cases for crypto. There is actually not just Bitcoin, but smart contracts, decentralizing certain functions of our daily lives, You can argue any gaming project has utility, especially if they get a good Web 2, Web 3 partnership ever develops, which hopefully that'll happen with Metacade, which we'll talk about Metacade later in the stream, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure.
Mask. I like Mask Project, MASQ. They have real world utility. Their browser you can download right now and use their token and share your bandwidth and earn the token or use the token, and it's more secure than a VPN or Tor. Prevent counterfeiting. There's all kinds of there is use cases for it. So
people have just been jaded by, there are a lot of good projects really building, a lot of good people in the space, but there are also a lot of shit people and a lot of, scammy people who use the token to just fund their own, to get rich and overpromise, underdeliver. And so, people get jaded.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why this washout in alts, maybe it ended up being a good thing, flush some of the scam projects out. If we get the 4-year cycle like we have in the past, I think ultimately utility will win out. And so I mean, we can't see the future or anything like that. But I think that's my take, that assuming we get the 4-year cycle, that alts will still have their run, and that most likely the cream will rise to the top.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's see. We're gonna get to Medicaid. I see some Medicaid questions down here. We're definitely gonna get to all that stuff. What about ETH? I saw someone mentioning ETH, and ETH has been absolute dog shit this cycle. Looking decent today, 7% up, reclaimed 2,000. What are you thinking there, man? Is ETH cooked, or can it make a big comeback?
It's not looking particularly good, for sure. I mean, ETH has to make a comeback if we want to have an alt season. But
right, can there be a big alt season without ETH pumping to like new all-time highs?
Well, I mean, we had the run in the end of 23, beginning of 2024, and ETH just, that was here. It's a little move up, so it didn't make an all-time high.
Pumped in. Back to 4, right? 4K.
Yeah. So if we could get back up there, I mean, it touched that level several times, but just from like a technical analysis standpoint, you get this candle right here. Okay, it closes below these wicks to the left, clearly below structure, out of the range. And if you look over here to this high right here, it also closed into that on its low, and you got a follow through bar after that. So you're like down here in this, like, you don't want to get back in here and settle down in this range. It's not good on chart. This RSI divergence here is so bad. I'm not a huge RSI divergence person, but they can matter. So from like that high to that high, because people try to find them when they're not there. Like they try to make anything a divergence to kind of confirm their own bias or whatever. But on higher time frames, you got that there. Now that can be this playing out here, but that's a pretty bad one. So structurally, like we talked about with the 50-day, now maybe it's not. Matter of fact, it held that better last cycle than Bitcoin. This is where Bitcoin broke it. Didn't happen for ETH. It stayed above it and didn't close it until we were like January 22, truly entering bear market territory. So, and it's firmly below all these EMAs, and they're sloping down. ETH needs to get some life pumped into it. People are saying that L2s are parasitic. They take market cap away from ETH and the fees that they collect off using the chain. So maybe that's part of it, that it struggles because of the layer 2s. However, it can't scale to compete with Solana or even, upcoming Sui and other blockchains, and even TRX, BNB. They can't compete with them from a fee. Yeah. So layer 2s have to be their answer. I mean, even a $2 transaction fee, that's considered, and it's half a penny on Solana,
Yeah. And, you're seeing, I think, the effects of that, unintended consequences of like basically like feeless transactions that's why you're seeing the emergence of all these meme coins, right? Where people can just create shit for basically, if you don't have the guardrails or the high fees, what that did was also keep a lot of shit out of the market.
And this is something I've thought about with ETH before. All right, if you look at ETH from the time it came out until its all-time high, or no, just say till this point in the market of that, it basically lived its existence like in an uptrend or didn't go down, even in the bear market. I mean, well, I guess that was a pretty decent drop. But it just it lived so much of its early existence and it getting such a big gain that I feel like maybe it's just taking a long time to get all those people kind of out that want to sell. I mean, that's a huge. What is that? A million percent? Is that a million %? 1.2 million.
I don't know, man.
From this low here to this high here. I think that says 1.2 million %. I think that's unbelievable. I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. So the all-time chart, I mean, it went up so much that maybe like how much more can it keep giving those gains when you have people that maybe held in the last bull market, didn't catch the top, and then they continue to hold, and then that's why they're targeting that 4K range because it sold off there 3 times. Or this can kind of be like a Wyckoff thing, where it comes down and takes that low out that everyone thought was a low, but you need the spring for the Wyckoff to be, because it's 3 pushes for the Wyckoff. So 1, the 2, which you like them maybe spaced out a little more than these 2, and then it comes down and takes that low out and springs up, and that's kind of considered like the Wyckoff setup. So if it bounces here, that could be possibly in play. Let's hope.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that we could have an alt season without a really strong ETH, or you think really, I mean, you kind of answered that before, but it could be a little.
It has to do something. I think it can't just downtrend and be stuck at this low level because, and we've talked about liquidity bonding up here a lot too.
Yeah.
All these, when you start a coin, it has to be backed by something. You have to have an LP, and generally that's ETH. Like ETH is what backs it, and you pair that with the coin in the liquidity pool, and the price of your coin is tied to ETH. So if ETH goes up 10%, your coin is going to go up 5% because half of that is paired with ETH. So, just inherently by ETH going up, everything's going to start getting some green candles. That gets confidence back in alts. People roll profits from ETH into the alts, all that stuff, and you're just not seeing that setup this time. Maybe Solana, let's look at the Solana chart because maybe Solana can take ETH's place and kind of lead the way. It looks better than ETH on chart for sure, but Solana, similar to ETH, it has had a humongous run up in its existence. Like Jordan Cameron, he was calling says that he thinks the top might be in for this cycle for Solana. Assuming that we continue to go up, I do not think that is the case at all.
Yeah.
For Solana. Solana has a really bad bearish divergence on higher time frames. From this RSI high, say like over here.
Yeah.
The steeper the more they diverge, the worse it is. That is a really bad one right there. But anyway, hopefully, because it's the same concept with Solana and anything that's on Solana. It's paired with Solana in a liquidity pool, and the same concept applies.
Yeah. Let's see. I guess let's talk about some of these alts here. I starred some questions, thoughts on Kaspa, thinking of entering it since it's decentralized, but don't know much about it. I like mining coins. Kaspa was so hot for a long time, and it cooled off and kind of like became a stable coin for a minute. I think a good year it went sideways. I haven't looked at it recently.
Yeah, and I think it's the same concept kind of that I just talked about with ETH. Look, it went up so much during this time. It just did so good throughout the bear market. Like this was all bear market time right here. It just did so good that like people are up just so much on it that bought down here that when they sell, it has such a price impact. But with that being said, I think that I think that the Kaspa ecosystem is good. One of the guys who helps run the Telegram, Big Walls, he got into Kaspa ecosystem early. Not just him, but like Dino, Legendary Leads, several guys, they were in it when like Kaspa meme coins were print. Like Walls, he got Kango on the mint, like when they were minting it out, and Kango ended up doing good. I mean, I think it's still at a pretty high market cap. His unrealized on Kango was humongous off like a $500 initial investment. So I like Kaspa. I like how their coins are fair launch, or at least most of them. They do have some that aren't, but then those don't do very well. So the fair launch is good. I think that it showed its strength here, and then the fact that it's just kind of ranged like this, that can be good. You know, get all these people out that are up a lot, shake it out, get it out of some of these people's hands so that when it goes up, the price impact isn't even more when they sell. You know, I had this drawn in from whenever I looked at it at some point. Closing below this, coming up to retest this, Kaspa, you want to reclaim this level here. You want to get back in above this, a rejection off of this, and you don't, you know, maybe you come down here and we don't, or even lower, you know, we don't want that to like this level here or anything like that. But I like the ecosystem. And for all these coins, I'm not going to continue to say, assuming we get a bull market, let's just assume that we are. Then I think Kaspa is one of the safer, higher cap plays.
Yeah.
Kind of forgotten about, but showed its strength here. You know, people would have loved back here, November 23 to at this point, like a year and change down the road to get Kaspa at these prices.
Yeah, I agree. It's a higher cap, safer play that could still perform really well, right? If it catches flight again. So, and you know, a lot of people tout the technology, which is always a good thing. I'm gonna bring up the Devve chart. Devve, I feel like they're getting closer to their announcement. They just did an announcement of their announcement, and their exchange is coming out maybe as early as July, and they're partnered with one of the biggest exchanges in the world, is what they say, one of the biggest TradFi exchanges. Speculation that it's NASDAQ. It's yet to be seen. NASDAQ has said that they are going live 24/7. They'd like to do that within the next 2 years. And they've been rumored to partner with some blockchain. So we'll see if it is NASDAQ or whoever it is. But this is another real project building real tech.
Yeah, and they got a real team behind it, like a real, I think they're based out of Switzerland. We looked into all that for the launch. There's no secret. I didn't like the tokenomics and all the pre-sales and all that stuff they had, but that the people behind it were serious people. We knew that from the start. So one thing on higher time frames, just a breakout point, like I talked about the gap. So as of right now, it's leaving this little gap here. That's good if it's put in the low and that it's on its way up. So let's look at this daily. Better look. Something that would be nice. Maybe it comes up here, makes an inverse head and shoulders on the daily. That could be a pattern to help it go up. This isn't like unbelievable bounce. Like, wow, look at that long wick and on a small time frame. Like if you hit some kind of level of support and there's a long wick, that's good. But what's even better is if you go to like the 15-minute or the hour and the long wick is there, that's really good because that shows like extreme demand and it was like all at one time. It wasn't like, throughout the rest of the week, it got balled up and ended up wicking on the weekly. I mean, that's okay. That's not bad. But when you look and that wick is on smaller time frames, that's really good. But this is basically a bullish outside bar with the body engulfing like all this. So that is good. You got a little bit of selling, good candle there. Not anything like real strong, like reversal that I would see right now, but the bottom could be potentially in. You could even say that, this was a micro double bottom. And this came and made a higher low and then a higher high. This could potentially be a higher low, trying to make a higher high. And that's what you see lots of times when things are trying to like really get out of that bottom and try to reverse direction. I don't see like any like textbook reversal pattern, but it does look like it could potentially have put a bottom and it left this gap here, which I've explained several times in this stream on why that's good.
Have you looked at the S&P and NASDAQ recently?
Yeah, I check them out.
What do those look like? We're so correlated. I can't see Bitcoin and crypto going up before really, or a reversal or a sign, a strong sign of a bottom over there.
It's happened before. So if this is the breakout point, you got, that's why I wicked here, looking to the left, wicked up from the breakout point, but then the next week, gap down, that's not good. But it did wick up. We're holding the 50-week bullish candle for this week. Once again, kind of like with Bitcoin, hopefully we get a bullish candle because that's good. Even if it goes down lower, it's showing that trading still happening. Bulls are still fighting, trying to support it. They're not just stepping out of the way and saying, here, bears, have a downtrend, and we're going to wait for this to make our stand and double bottom and bounce from there, because it could, maybe this could give it support like this level here, but there's not really much there. It's probably going to be like in this range here if it continues to slide.
What is that, 5,200?
Yeah, say like somewhere between 52.6 and 51.2.
Yeah.
NASDAQ was looking the worst a couple weeks ago. This is great for the NASDAQ to see this kind of candle because this was bad right here. That was not a good candle. And gap down.
NASDAQ, did it get to 20% from the top? Or close to it.
14.4.
All right.
Holding the 50-week. That's an important one for all these, I think, that is holding the 50-week. The Dow hadn't looked as bad as the other ones, and it's similar to the S&P a little bit, mostly. Now, USDT total market cap. Like I said, we got our own printer in crypto, and it's looking good. And if you look at last bear market, the Luna collapse, then that's when the real bear market started, like the vicious downtrend into the bottom. FTX collapse. These things correlate, and they're still putting in green candles. So that's good. And USDC, they don't come out and print like a billion generally, but they're printing more often now, smaller amounts. And I think this is good. It's like breaking this high from back here and going up, and just these, just injecting liquidity in the market with USDC. So I think these are great to see. Just basically all green candles on USDT and USDC total market cap, their market caps or whatever, not the dominance.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? There's obviously, like, we've had big drops across the board and people get freaked out. But it's also important to note that, the traditional stock market, there's a thing called seasonality, and March is typically the worst year. I'm going to pull it up. So this is like a seasonality chart on the S&P, on the S&P 500, and you look at March is and quarter one specifically is the worst time of year for the stock market. So this is a drawdown was expected in the markets. People freak out and they scream like it's coming to an end or whatever. But you saw a very similar drawdown in July, where I think we dropped in a similar percentage, if not pretty much the same. I think it was 10% on the S&P and a little more on NASDAQ. So again, people shouldn't get freaked out. I know it sucks because crypto and alts get hit much harder, but it was expected to some degree. And March and quarter one typically is the worst time of year for the traditional markets.
And there's a chart, if I can find it. I'll try to. Yeah, okay. I think this might be it. No, it's the S&P versus Bitcoin. Maybe this is it. Yeah, I think this is it actually. So I mean, it's kind of speaking. We're on the weekly here. This is Bitcoin versus the S&P. So it shows that, as long as this goes back, this particular one goes back to August 23rd, but the Bitcoin, even now, look, this is recent. Like It's holding up very well. Bitcoin isn't the problem here. Yeah, go ahead.
Bitcoin's held up better than the S&P and NASDAQ. S&P and NASDAQ gave back all their gains from November.
Yeah, that chart proves it. I mean, Bitcoin's doing okay. Bitcoin isn't the problem. It's what's got in people's heads. It's alts not doing well. That's what's
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're just looking at the Bitcoin chart, if everyone was just holding Bitcoin, no one would be freaked out because it's part of the course. But the thing is that alts have not had a real, we've had like teases, right? In December, like you said, like a year and a half ago, we had a decent alt season. We've had teases of it, but we haven't had the real alt season. In fact, alts have bled. So that's what's freaking people out.
Yep, and that's what is definitely the problem. And then most people are invested a lot in alts and everything like that. But this cycle we talked about a lot mimics 2017 so much more, and I looked at that a lot. And some things did pump earlier. Some alts did pump early in the cycle in 2017 or early that year in 2017. But it was kind of few and far between, and everything really pumped at the end of the year. And that's kind of what you saw here. Some things did pump at the beginning, like XRP pumped, and some of the Dino coins, and whatever. But it wasn't like a full-on. You had that AI agent little scam boom or whatever.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at 2017, it could play out more like that with the big gains come later in the year. And this chart shows you Bitcoin's held up great against the S&P. It's done better than the S&P, and yeah,
NASDAQ's trading like shitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Russ asks, Tectum seems to keep building. Any chance? I haven't kept up with them recently in the last couple months, not months, in the last few weeks or so, to see. I know that they were on. I think Alex was interviewed. The CEO was interviewed by I forget her name. She's pretty big following.
TET is very promising fundamentally. When it wasn't pumping, when some other alts were having a run up, I pointed out that TET had went up over 100% a few months before that, 100 and something percent as a matter of fact. So it had pumped even before these other alts. And I looked into a lot of the points that had been brought to my attention, or I watched in other videos on why they didn't trust the project. And most things either I thought were overstated, flat out wrong, or, well, yeah, but that's kind of crypto. I don't really, But then since then, as things have went down, I advised or non-financially advised people in Telegram that I'm getting out of TED. I started scaling out earlier than this. And then when things kind of hit their bottom, I just, but I tried to, what I reallocated from TET, I tried to look at things that because I did buy a bit of TET at $8 and below. So other things that took similar chops, I tried to allocate the money into that. So it wasn't eating such a big loss. TET's what I've lost the most on this cycle. I mean, like I said, I reallocated it, but I'm out on TET. Maybe they'll end up doing better. I looked into those points before. I didn't think it was that concerning. Since then, with things going down, I don't like it. I've heard things that maybe can't be verified, but on top of what I see on the chart, that just looks so bad. Breaking out of the level with those candles, just one after the other. One of the people that promotes them has a really bad reputation, and he's not just a Cole. He's listed on their website as a team member. There's a lot of things, like somebody has said on Twitter, like a farmer up the street from me runs TET and it's a scam. I don't think that. I don't think some at all Twitter, and he lives up the street from you, and it's some farmer that runs the fastest blockchain or one of the fastest or whatever. I don't know. So you certainly can't believe everything you hear. I'm not saying I buy all the FUD on TET, but it's enough for me to say, you know what? In this time, it's easy to reallocate and just kind of start over with a new bag, and I'm out on TET.
Yeah, I also I sold my TET at about, I think it was over about 4:30, and I put it into Devve. And Devve went down a little bit since then, but it's held up better. Tectum still has a good narrative, and it can do well if they, do what they say they're going to do. The issue is when there are trust issues in crypto, it's tough because people are already people are waiting. They're looking to see. There's a lot of trust issues in this space.
It's great fundamentally. Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks like a winner, but it hasn't done that. And there's easier ways, I think, than to stick with something like that. I have a lot more trust in Mint Layer, which has actually held up pretty well during this downturn.
Yeah.
Like once the bottom kind of happened, Mint Layer hasn't really gone down much. It's held its price pretty good.
A good portion of Mint Layer is locked up, is staked. I think like over 100 million Mint Layer tokens are staked. And there's a good yield on that, like 40%, I think it's still at.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you see the Digital Asset Summit tomorrow? It's in New York, and Trump is supposed to be there.
Yeah. Hopefully something good with that. Because if these things keep being a sell the news event, I don't know, eventually, hopefully just get it out of these people's hands that are holding assets, and then they can't keep selling the news. They keep doing these good news events. When I look at sell the news, I think the market has to be pumping into that because what are you selling if it's not? So I don't know. I think people are almost trying to think that they're overly smart. Like, yeah, I'm going to sell the news when it really wasn't that much to sell. But I mean, the market reacts negatively. It is what it is.
Yeah, and Medicaid's held up. I think is better than anything.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's look at the Metacade chart because Metacade has held up so good, and in a sector that I'm bullish on for the cycle, but it hasn't done good at all. Like since the pump, because when we came out the gate, October, November, whatever, 2023, gaming was on fire. We've talked about it on streams before. And since then, it's been really dismal. And Medicaid has done great. I mean, this is when Bitcoin was going down. Medicaid was having good candles. So you got up here that, we came back down. But the good thing is, look, the close wasn't below any of this structure right to the end. And then you got green candles following that. Like I said before in the stream, even if you go down a little more, that is a good sign that it's not like starting a downtrend. Because that wasn't a good candle, But still, even with that, I mean, in terms of other alts, well, that was 40%. But you also have to consider that during this time, everything else was falling and it was going up. So in a sense, if you look from here, kind of like here is when things started really tanking. It's basically at the same. It's at the exact same price now, actually, from this candle body right here to right now. So in a way, since things really started going down and people started kind of selling out of a lot of their bags, Medicaid's at the same price.
Yeah, and we talked about the layer 3, the partnership with Coinbase. Someone asked a little here about Coinbase has been listing smaller coins lately. Does Medicaid fit their profile for 2025? If you had asked me a year ago, and people would say like, but when they're listed on Coinbase, they're going to go to this market cap. And I was always skeptical of them being listed on Coinbase just because Coinbase has been extremely selective and hesitant to list a lot of coins. But now you are seeing Coinbase list. I think they just listed Dog and Meme, which was at like a $30 million market cap meme coin on Base. They listed Toshi. So they have said, and Jesse Pollak did an interview where they talked about entering an era of abundance in their listings. And I think that they will be favorable towards Base projects. Specifically, I would think now that they've partnered with them for the layer 3 thing that they're doing, I wouldn't be shocked if, I'm not saying that it'll happen or if I'm pricing it in or anything, but now I think it's definitely possible that they could get listed there.
I know for sure. I don't think there's anything wrong with me saying this. I know for sure that Medicaid at ETH Denver was talking to people that worked at Coinbase a lot. I mean, they did the layer 3 thing. So, I mean, that's a start, And another thing, Medicaid has huge volume, like trading volume. They're listed on lots of exchanges and DEXs and stuff like that. And they got a lot of volume. And that's what these exchanges want, to see big volume. And Coinbase obviously is going to have an interest in Base. They're the top gaming project on Base, no doubt about it. So, like you, I don't know any inside scoop that, Coinbase company. But I think the probability is pretty decent that they'll get listed on Coinbase.
Yeah, I would say the probabilities went up since.
Big time. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I love about what Russ is doing is, he had mentioned, and it struck me, I thought he's a smart guy. He's a good leader. And I think it was like 6 to 8 months ago, he was in an AMA might have been on my stream where he said, we're looking to become like a gaming authority, right? We're looking to be like the authority in gaming. And you're seeing them execute on that. They've got a space scheduled. They've been doing like 3 spaces a week now. They got a space scheduled tomorrow with Superverse and Wilder World, which are considered, Wilder World's considered to be like a potential, blue chip, Web3 gaming project. They already have a partnership with them. Elio Trades behind Superverse, big name in, co-founder of Neo Tokyo and a big guy in the whole Web3 gaming space. So they're building these relationships and they're slowly, I think, becoming an authority. And like their spaces are growing. They had a good number in there last week. So, they're doing everything right that you want to see them do.
Yeah, the response to the Metacade Club was tremendous. I think the big thing that needs to happen in Web3 gaming is Web 2 and Web 3. Like a notable Web 2 game has to integrate with a crypto or a Web 3 game or something like that. And once again, this is kind of like the Coinbase thing. I don't have any knowledge of anything like that, any inside knowledge. I do talk to Russ a bit, and Den is a lot. I talk to him probably every day, so I do hear some things and know some things in advance, but I don't have any knowledge of what I'm about to say. But having Jamie King on the team, I think that because we know this has to happen. If gaming comes mainstream, because it can be big. Crypto gaming can be huge, but they need the adoption to happen through Web 2. And I think Metacade has a good of a chance as any gaming project that I'm aware of to make that that connection to a Web 2 game because of Jamie King.
Yeah, good stuff going on there. How's your pie short going? I saw it on X, immediately thought that's a win. But I just buy spot every week.
Yeah, printed big time for sure. My friend Eric, I talk about a lot. He had been mining Pi on his phone since you could. I don't know, it was 2017, 2019 or whatever. So I was familiar with the project because of him, because he had been waiting to sell it for a while. And I understood like that there was going to be all these people that were going to get it unlocked and be able to sell it or whatever. So yeah, I did get spooked at one time about a potential Binance listing on Pi Day, and I had exited just for the day and it dropped. So I did lose some position there. Most people in the Telegram didn't. But yeah, from the 177 that I had said that to add for an entry and down, I mean, that was like 40%. The thing is, Pi was 11th in market cap with like $10 billion market cap. It has no business being 11th.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, dude. It makes me mad when I look at the top 10, top 20 coins now and I see Pi there. It pisses me off.
But they do have a big community. But these unlocks or these people being able to sell, that's going to continue for like another week at least. And then they tried to like push it off on some people saying that, oh, something happened. There's going to be another 14. You're getting pushed back 14 days. Well, they probably did because they were probably trying to subside some of the selling, but they probably pissed those people off to when they get unlocked, they're going to sell too. So I do think that Pi may end up being okay, but I would expect the selling to continue. I'm staying short on it. I added to it last night. If it hits 120 or more, I'm going to probably add to it again. I don't like just put blind targets like that. I like to see what the candles look like when it hits that area, but I'm looking for Pi to continue to go down, probably shorten it to, just arbitrarily speaking, maybe 80 cents, maybe 50 cents even, but I'm probably looking for about 80 cents to short Pi to, and then maybe you can find some footing. And another bad thing for Pi is the Buyback Bit CEO came out and said they're basically a scam. I don't think he meant like they're a scam, like they're got malicious intentions. I think he's saying that like the mobile mining is like they're acting like that's revolutionary and like it's not. Like some people will say it could be the next Bitcoin and stuff like that. And the problem with him coming out and saying that, he's being held in very high regard in space right now because he just took the biggest hack in the history of the world on the chin, and his exchange didn't skip a beat. So he's a very look for him, maybe this bull run to be the next CZ, to have that kind of influence. So for him to come out and say that, I don't think that bodes well for a Binance. He's not going to list it. That's what I think why he said it, because he was asked about it. So he's not going to list it on Bybit. If he's saying that, I don't know that Binance will. And what shook me out of the short a little bit, it was Pi Day was the next day. And there was speculation, mostly just from the community, that was going to get listed on Binance. But the thing was, I found that Binance did tweet about them like a month before. So I was like, well, if they were going to list them, Pi Day would be the day to do that. But once that came and went and it didn't go, I don't think they're going to get listed on Binance. I mean, maybe they do. But the fact that Binance put that tweet out like middle of February about should they list Pi, that's what the tweet said. That's pretty good. But it's been all this time, didn't list it. And then you got the Bybit guy saying that. I don't know. It don't add up good. But I do think once things settle out, that does have a good community and it can come back. To what level, I don't know.
Yeah. And a lot of people are trading now in the Telegram during this boring part of the market. So if anyone wants to learn about how to trade and all that, it's another thing that's another way to make money that's shared in Ron's Crypto Therapies Telegram.
Yeah, we're guiding through the trades. And it's not just me. I mean, I'm putting out a lot of it. Obviously, I put out some pretty good gainers the last few days. Everybody followed what I did, swell up over 100% on most of them. Sona, a lot of people listening may be familiar with him. He has been killing it on his day trading, and what he does is not just us two. There's other guys, Ace, other people put in some good calls and some good finds and stuff like that. There's one that I don't think is going to be as good as Pi, but it's got a fairly big market cap, and it's been downtrending a little bit, but I think it could really tank coming up in the upcoming weeks. And that's one that I'm looking to put my foot on the gas on here over the next week and maybe get a similar gain. It's not as good as Pi, but I think it could be pretty good.
Yeah, LBM had a good week. What do you think about LBM? It's an RWA play, yeah?
Small cap. On base. Yeah. Hopefully it found its bottom. Yeah. I may need to check it out. And I had sold. I didn't sell out of the position, but I did sell a little bit as it was coming down here. So it may, and I did buy some back already, but I may want to look into that. Another RWA that I like on base is Viz. It may just be on a DEX still. It may not even be on an exchange, but it's RWA and AI. So I like that one too. But I know more about the LBM team and some of what they want to do and everything like that. I mean, it's low market cap, but if RWA does okay and it's on base, I think that's another point for it. I favor things on base and Solana. So, yeah, I think it's a good one.
Yeah, and I can't see RWA not performing this cycle. It just makes sense that this is a cycle for RWA. You see AI tech has moved to, well, they're now not only on base, but they moved to base also.
Yeah, and they're getting out of the basement. And I'm gonna tell you guys, I had sold some as it was coming down here, and I had a limit order with a lot to buy right here at 0.22. That was where I had the limit order. I did buy some back in this area and stuff like that, but I just did miss it. And look, that's the game. And some people may have sold on certain candles as they're coming down, and then when price goes down, they're like, yes, I'm so glad I'm sold. That's great. But then you got to make a decision if you're going to buy it back or if you're truly going to buy into the bearishness and saying the bull market's over, also going to zero. Well, if you really believe that, then don't buy it back. And if you don't, then you got to decide, what are you going to, are you going to buy it back at a certain price? Or are you going to wait for Bitcoin to dump even more? It can be difficult. I obviously know technical analysis is pretty good. And look, that's what can happen. I just missed it. I just missed it by a little bit. But
yeah. How much of your bag did you sell?
About somewhere between 30 to 40%. I have it in two different wallets, and but the bigger wallet that I have, I didn't touch, and the other wallet, because it was one of my bigger holds, I sold 100% of what was in that wallet. So if I had to guess, somewhere between 30 to 40%, and I'd already bought half of it back at maybe a 20% discount or something like that. But I had that other sum to buy there, and now I would make a decision. What am I going to do? Do I want to start buying back in? Do I want to wait for lower prices? This is the game we play.
Yeah, I sold 20% of my bag of my whole portfolio. I sold off 20% before we really pushed down. I sold my AI tech, my Rio,
Me and you did it just in time, and
Yeah,
put it
same
out
day.
Telegram that morning, just before the
Yeah.
bottom. I mean, things had already went down some, but before the bottom dropped out, we put out that we were gonna sell portions of our bags.
Yeah, I sold Rio at 20 cents, and it went down to 15. I got back in at about 17 cents. I was able to add a good amount to my Rio bag. AI Tech I sold at 3 cents, ended up buying back at 3 cents. Naka I sold, and I kept that sold off. I'm so allocated to Metacade, and I think Metacade is going to do better than Naka. And so I actually added a little to Medicaid, and I used that money to buy more Zeus at a good price. I got Zeus at like 20 cents maybe. So yeah, it was good stuff.
I love Zeus. Yeah, that's one of my biggest holds and something that I'll continue to buy. It's forming a very similar chart pattern to Sui on higher time frames, and I think that I heard that they had the same market maker. So I really like Zeus as a project. For any new funds, which I'm not really looking to put new money in, but I'm looking to, with the reallocation of what I have sold and putting back in, I'm definitely going heavier on Zeus.
Yeah, that's become one of my bigger bags now, top 5.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I like what they're doing a lot.
Yeah, and they got the Invest Answers is big on. I like when there are smart people also.
Marty Party.
Yeah, Marty Party, Invest Answers. So, and I saw that they had like the backing of Anatoly on there. He's on the website saying that he's an early backer. So it's always good to get like, Anatoly's backing, as a Solana project.
If you go to YouTube and just type like Zeus or something like that, Zeus crypto, there's a video. It's like 26 minutes long. So maybe that'll help you find it, because there's not a whole lot of just general videos out there on it. And that gives you a really good explanation of what it is and what they're doing and what they're trying to do. And I just think bringing BTC liquidity onto Solana, and it's actual BTC, it's not wrapped like you've seen in the past, like with the wrapped BTC on these different chains. It's not that. So I think it could be big. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still bullish for the bull run. My thesis has not changed until I see some, it's hard, man. These last month I'm not going to lie, it's been fucking hard. Yeah. This market has not been easy, man.
Hardest time in my crypto career, definitely the last couple months.
Yeah, it's hard, specifically with the timing of it, because this is, we projected that, we'd be, heading into alt season, and that, our bags would be at a certain level. And then that just didn't happen, right? And a lot of that is because of the expectation that we had set. And, alts just haven't kicked in yet, but it's a hard game, man. Most people fail at it. I'm still bullish. There have been no top indicators, no signals yet that this market is turning around and heading in a bearish direction. So at the end of the day, you need to drown out the noise and look at the signals, which is what Jerome Powell said today, and just be objective and rational, right? And what you look on Twitter and you see people speaking with conviction about like this is going to happen or that's going to happen. And you talk about it's a game of probabilities. There is nothing is set in stone.
Nothing's programmed in.
Nothing's programmed in. Maybe it doesn't pan out. That's a possibility. You got to be open to it. But you see like someone like Dr. Profit who flipped bearish short term, but just having like, one day is 100% convicted that we're going to, 150, and literally the next day is 100% convicted that we're going to 50K. And now he walked that back to 70K. You can't borrow conviction from people. You can't look at what people are posting online and, think that they know the answers. No one has the answers.
Yeah. And you got to make some decisions for yourself as well and be like, I'm either going to have conviction on it or I'm not. I've done well calling tops and bottoms. There's other people out there that have good track records too, and they can say, hey, no, I look at this as the bull market is over or we're going down. Who are you going to believe? At the end of the day, I'll admit that I don't know for sure, but we didn't see any topping indicators. I think it's either one of two things. It's either that the 4-year cycle is invalidated because of so much like Wall Street money in it, and they don't care about that, and they're just doing their own thing or whatever. along with some of these other things with the alts, I don't think any one thing with these things we talked about, token dilution, people getting burned, and the kind of the Jeet culture that the whole meme coin thing created, the altcoins kind of just being scammed. I don't think any of those one things will stunt altcoins, but maybe together, maybe. So I think it's either that the 4-year cycle is invalidated or the bull market hasn't even started yet. The real bull market that we are accustomed to in crypto, and what I think can happen this time. And for me, the risk is worth the reward. Yes, my bags could go down more, but also what's the opportunity cost of all these macro things coming together? Cycles peak at every single cycle, hit its top in the end of the post halving year anyway. So, the opportunity cost of missing all that, how are you going to live with yourself with that? I can live with myself losing another however many $1,000s. I can trade and get that back over the next year, couple years or whatever. I can't get those gains back that I could have gotten if alts 100x.
Yeah. And, everyone's risk tolerance is different, right? And some people can't afford to, maybe they're over leveraged or whatever. And that's an issue. When you're over leveraged, it's a problem because it makes you emotional during times like this, during the toughest times. If you're over leveraged, you're going to panic.
Yeah. And you can get confirmation bias too. And you start looking for hopium sometimes. And, when they say only put in what you're willing to lose, they mean it sometimes. Like the Tectum, it looked very promising. It just ended up keep going down. And now I'm just like, I'm not even going to mess with it anymore. And no matter how promising something looks, there's nothing's a guarantee. Nothing's programmed in. Nobody knows for sure. Unless there's some kind of manipulation where somebody's really pulling the strings behind some kind of project, then nobody knows for sure.
Yeah. Josh says, what do you think about XMW Morphware? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that either, but I like Josh, so I'll check it out. And next stream that I do with you, Danny, I'll have some more. I'll look at it fundamentally and everything.
All right. Yeah, Mint Layer. I still like Mint Layer. And it's really cheap, man. Mint Layer is at I want to say a $4 million market cap. Let me see. Set a little under $7 million market cap. Still like it. Still like the narrative. Real tech they're building.
Yeah, I like them fundamentally. That the sector that they're in has really got hit hard. But if you look at here on the weekly, look, it's held this because Mint Layer is another one. Man, I guess I missed this. I had an order set for 3 or something like that. Didn't get filled though, so I don't know. And I still got a limit order set. I think I've just barely missed it. Maybe on this wick I just missed it. But look, it's held up pretty good last couple weeks. That could be forming a bottom. And fundamentally, I like this project. I just think this sector hasn't done very well. But if you're going to allocate money to that sector, then I think Mint Layer is that's one that I'm going to, for a blockchain that I'm going to allocate to.
Yeah. We talked about AI tech, Peak.
Yeah, Peak from DePIN. That's kind of like the flagship DePIN protocol. So I think it's, if you want to put some in DePIN, I think that Peak is the safest. Natix is one that I like. It's on Solana. It's like a mapping. You can even download the app and do it yourself. Like while you drive, it maps the road, does something. You're on the crypto. So I like Natix. I consider Mask a DePIN project as well. It's kind of privacy. They also have an AI aspect, but it's also DePIN. So I like Mask. Mask has actually been doing pretty good the last couple of days. It's pumped a little bit.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I'm just texting my daughter. Sorry.
I'm good.
All right. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not a fan of SPX. I'm just not a fan of Murad, to be honest, man. I think he articulates meme culture well and all that, but I'm not a fan of anyone who says this is the one coin, this is it. This is it. You're just trying to pump your own bags. I don't like that. I don't like putting unreasonable price targets on a project. Like he said, I think he said trillions. So, I'm not really a fan of Murad. That turns me off to SPX, but good community.
Yeah, good community. that long wick on the weekly, that's good. That maybe it's, and then the green candle this week, that's good. That maybe it's found its bottom. I think he definitely has confirmation bias. Not give it to him. You know, he was up on so many of these meme coins, and he held. He didn't sell or anything like that. But his whole thesis is kind of like people are kind of depressed in life in general now because of that, just various factors of our lives, and people are more lonely, and they're going to lean in to these meme coin communities, and everyone's going to hold, and the market cap is going to elevate, and meme coins are just going to do crazy. Hey, he believes in something. It's a theory. I actually think most meme coins probably, like, I don't know that we're going to get that meme coin mania. And even when people are like every meme coin was doing great. No, it really wasn't even that. A lot of these meme coins just go up and then they went down to.
Yeah. People just snipe them, wait for opportunities, snipe them, sell them.
Yeah. And speaking of meme coins, Chuck's 1 year anniversary is coming up, and we definitely got big plans for that. We're going to do a lot for Chuck. And, you know, Chuck, it's a meme coin, but we try to do as much as we can. We try to throw the kitchen sink at it and do everything that we can for Chuck. So it's not just a meme coin, so to speak. You know, it's a community, and we do all these things, the burn lotteries, we got a trading bot coming out soon, a launch pad coming out. We want to make the market get better for that. We got the online store that we do buy and burns, so any merch, the beer, the energy drinks. I mean, it's so much that we try to do for Chuck, and we got some plans for it. Matter of fact, I had somebody message me on Telegram today about some Chuck stuff. And Wendy likes Chuck.
Wendy really likes Chuck because you know, we do the donations and
charity, yeah.
And it's a genuine thing. It's not like, you know, it's a genuine community. It's a real community. And people still reach out even now, and they comment on how strong the community is. We get new people on the Telegram. So proud to be a member of the Chuck community and riding. And we also did another tournament on Metacade last week.
Yeah, we have our own game. We're in other people's game, other projects' games, not just Metacade, but other gaming projects. We're on a gambling website called Pigmo, where you can use Chuck to bet on sports or all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've tried everything we can to, you know, we're listed on a few exchanges, might list on a few more. The thing with exchanges, you know, it seems like people want exchanges, but with every exchange that is listed on, we have to pay a market maker, like at least like $1,000 a month. And we try not to sell tokens at all for these things. So, you know, exchanges can be good, but if we do exchange, we want it to be worth it. And then some of these times you got to provide funds like 10,000 in market maker funds, which are your funds. Like, you can get it back, you know, if you delist, but you got to keep that 10,000 or maybe even more for some bigger exchanges. You got to keep that up there for, you know, I guess however long you're listed or whatever. So it's a tough game, you know, out here with running a project and making those decisions.
Yeah, but Chuck is, you know, holding up as well as other base meme coins, and you know, it's down, you know, obviously, but community is still strong, still rating. And so, you know, the key for a project like Chuck is to, you know, you survive and you make it through to the other side, because 99.9% of meme coins get wiped out and they don't live this long. They don't make it to their first year.
Yeah, and not only are we making our first year, we got big plans. This trading bot, you know, was developed for another project, and I decided that, hey, let's use it for Chuck. It's more in line with Chuck. It's a good trading bot. You know, one of the devs involved in Chuck is super smart. We're really lucky to have him. He's done a lot. He's just, I can't say enough good things about him. And he also made the launch pad, and we're going to drop that. So the way we want to do the launch pad rollout is when the market's better, we're going to launch a meme coin through the launch pad. Even if meme coins aren't hot, just right now, that would be stupid. Like, it would just spike up and then just fall right down no matter who was buying it. So we're going to use the launch pad for that. I've had people reach out to me for actual utility coins, that project that has some things behind it that we can launch through that. But I also don't want to just drain liquidity from the community and have the Chuck community expected to kind of prop up Chuck and every meme coin that comes out. So we got to do it in the right way and at the right time. But if we get the bull market mania phase, don't worry. Things can come out. We can still come out with things, and they can still do okay.
Yeah, for sure. Peace out, Frank.
Frank, appreciate everything you do, Frank.
Yeah, Frank the Tank, integral member of the Chuck community.
Yeah, and that's what we said earlier. Blanket Cat was like in 2017, and you go look at go to the Wayback Machine and go to CoinGecko and look at how those coins did, like what coins were big back then and what they did. There were some that earlier in the year did go up. We did have some that went up. I think it maybe in Litecoin. Is it Litecoin or XRP? Like it had a great run up early in the year, but
XRP did have a run up early in the year. Yeah, but a monster one at the end of the year.
Most things had the run up at the end of the year. Yes. And everything is said, this is mimicking more 2017. So I continue to, I don't think the 4-year cycle is invalidated yet. Now, like I said, the situation I said, closing under the 50-day, price being accepted, not bouncing there, and then rejecting off the 50-day to the downside, 50-week to the downside, that could be a time to have to look in the mirror and say, hey, maybe this isn't going to play out like I thought. But once again, the silver lining is the 4-year cycle didn't play out. So the 4-year cycle was invalidated, and it should be invalidated to the bear side as well, where you're not having this 4-year mindset mentality where, well, I hold these things for 4 years and they'll come back. Like I said, I think then crypto is just part of the greater, it'll probably follow like the NASDAQ and tech stocks.
Yeah. And maybe we go into 2026 and, 2017, the alts peaked in January of 2018. Bitcoin peaked in December of 2017, I believe.
Yeah. Some alts last cycle peaked in 2022. So it's not,
right.
yeah. And here's another theory I heard. So, and this is pretty smart actually, that Trump and the administration, I mean, we all know that they're probably trying to bring markets down, refinance rates, whatever, these tariff stuff. And they are not, and I'm not trying to be political, but I don't think Trump is stupid. And I don't think that some of these other people he surrounds himself are, and they kind of know what they're doing or what they're trying to achieve. But the theory was that they want markets to be really hot going into the midterms in 2026 because they want people to be on the up and up with their party so that they maintain the House, because it's very common in the United States, like politics, that whoever wins the House, not the presidency, but the House of the Congress for the presidential cycle, they do that. They hold elections for those people 2 years later. And lots of times the other party ends up taking it back or it flips or whatever. So they want to try to keep the House and keeping the markets hot at that time, making sure the markets are hot then is a way for them to kind of ensure that. That's a theory. I don't know. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it does kind of make sense with everything going on.
I mean, yeah, I think it was Darius Dale I saw. He was the first one to say that they were trying to kitchen sink the economy and the market and bring it down early in this first term so that you could blame it on Biden, past administration, get past the tough part, and then, take off and show growth, right, from the bottom to the top. And that was a play, but that's part of the Reagan's playbook from, I think, his first term, coming off of that high inflation from the 70s. And so, my question is, how deep do they want the, pullback to go? Or, is it, talking about bringing interest rates down with the bond yield and all that? How far would they want to push the market down?
Some people are talking about the inversion curve or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And people have been saying that for a while, though, because with
inverted yield curve. Yeah.
Yeah, this and the recession. They've been saying that for several years. So, I mean, I think the Fed has probably done as good a job as they can for the soft landing, as they say, especially as much money that had been printed as starting at COVID, is unprecedented. So it's pretty amazing that we haven't had some kind of sharp, serious bad crash,
Yeah, it's wild. And people have been calling for a recession from 2022. It hasn't materialized yet, in spite of the yield curve signaling it.
Yeah.
Caro in the house. What's good, brother?
Caro, what's up, bro? I don't see you around no more.
Time to buy or wait a little more?
I mean, using Bitcoin as the kind of the lead, which is kind of how I operate, using Bitcoin as the leader. I think that, I wish that I could say the definitive answer. I think there's reason to think that we've gotten support here. I go off the weekly. As of right now, it looks okay. I've DCA'd some things back in, but I've still got those limit orders on some of those alts set at lower prices. If I miss out, then I know the game I'm playing, and I'm okay with that. The best thing you could probably do is DCA. Wait for it to. There's a CME gap up here. 1 second. Yeah, and this is a weird one because some people are saying the gap is like was like from here to maybe, or here to here or something like that. See, I see the gap as being here at 95. I'm not a CME gap expert, but the reason I say that, this is odd that you get a candle like this, that it opens up, like the open to the candles are the side by side, but one's green, one's red. So this one closed here, but opened up here. So that's what I see the CME gap as up here. But maybe some other YouTube person has a better understanding of CME gaps. But whenever we deem the CME gap, when you see rejection off that, because it should fill that gap and go the other way. Not saying it'll permanently go the other way, but when you get that rejection off that CME gap, which will probably happen, it's not like the market is just trending up, going parabolic or anything like that. So then if it double bottoms or forms some kind of reversal pattern after that gap is filled, that could be a sign that, well, maybe the bottom really is in. I would say if you put me on the spot with everything that I'm seeing, I say like 60-40 that the bottom's in. I lean towards that it is. A lot of people have said, this is how they think. Well, when price went down to, the 77 or whatever, okay, well, this whole going down to the 70s and 60s, it looks like that's not going to happen, but we should get a touch back down there. Here's what you got to keep in mind, though. That was the touch back down there.
Yeah.
This was the original push. That was the retest down there. That was the double bottom. That was it, potentially.
Yeah, for sure. I do think that now is a good time to DCA if you're looking to buy. My bags are pretty much packed. I sold 20% of my bag, got good buy back in on Rio, and was able to get some good stuff on Zeus. I'm not putting too much more in just because I have other goals. I have to also hedge in the event that my bags are good. Like every time I thought my bags were packed, I ended up packing them some more. So my bags are bigger than I thought they would be. And I have to now focus on some other stuff as a hedge against, what if I'm wrong? What if the market doesn't play out? So
Same. Yeah, same. If crypto does great, then I'll be fine. I got bags.
Yeah.
But I'm not putting any more new money in it. I am trading more, which I'd always done anyway. But once the halving kind of comes around, I don't really mess around. So I'm just kind of holding and looking to buy a good price. But I'm getting back into trading futures and stuff like that to generate some more money. And that, sure, I can throw some of that on, some of the bags, buying more Zeus or TARS AI or whatever. But yeah, we've been doing pretty good on the futures trading in Telegram. So hopefully we keep that up.
Yeah. How do you see Metacade performing in a bull run? Could it outpace other GameFi tokens like Axie? Axie was an anomaly. I don't think Axie went. I think Axie went like a $25 billion market cap.
Billion, I think.
$30 billion market cap. I wouldn't expect. Don't think of it as Axie. Axie was, it went viral, right? It was it went crazy over there in Philippines or wherever, and it became kind of like a viral coin. Those are 1 in a million during a cycle, right? That catch flight. So you can't have an expectation on Metacade like that. They can do well. I think it could reach $1 billion market cap. If we get a nice bull run. So we'll see how it plays out.
If they get like something like integrated into Grand Theft Auto or something like that, yeah, sure. But that's, betting on something like that to happen, which it isn't out of the question. But other than that, we get a proper bull run. Metacade should crack $1 billion and more.
Yeah, which is I think it's like 30 million now, which is still cheap. Even it's still not expensive. Golden age is months away, in my opinion. Risk reward is too big, and that's the thing, right? You didn't come this far. We didn't come this far to come this far. You don't go through all of what people went through to quit, right before what could be, a big rally, because this is what crypto does, right? I mean, Bitcoin is prone to 35% dip. So Bitcoin has not done anything out of the ordinary. It's how it's performed in previous bull cycles. Alts have messed with people's minds a bit, but it doesn't take much. One God candle can set things on fire. And I think what people need to do, what I need to do specifically, is take profits better, right? Usually when you're posting screenshots of gains online, historically, that's been a good time to sell some.
Yeah.
Walls in the house. What's good, brother? You can get into Oscar after it hits 100 million on its way to 5 billion. Oh, well, I'm not sure what Oscar is. 20 million on Metacade.
Still respectable. Still a good. It's held up really well. I like it better than any other gaming project I know of. The tokenomics are superior. It's just so many things I like about it. It's on base. You know the team. You know they're legit. You know they're not scamming anything behind it. They're trying everything they can do. So it's hard to make a case against Metacade. Some other gaming projects, if you want to diversify, I like Corpo World just because I think the quality of the gaming is good. I like OTK just because it's on Solana. It's the top gaming project on Solana. I think Playable Games is pretty good, but I don't have high conviction of those near like I would with Metacade.
Yeah, same. Been off about an hour and a half. Anything else you want to touch on before we head out?
Nah, man, I rambled for a long time, hour and a half, a long time to talk. But I could keep going. I could talk about this stuff all day. But I got something I need to attend to anyway.
Yeah, we'll link up again. Thanks to everyone in the chat for coming through. As always, appreciate you all, and we will catch you in the next one.